Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar, all about teaching our young English learners in both remote and in-person environments. I'm Emily Sumner, and I'll be your webinar host today. Before we begin, I'm going to review just a few tips to help the webinar run smoothly for you. The GoToWebinar platform does not have a group chat, but we do welcome your questions and your feedback. You can send questions in throughout the presentation, and we'll answer as many as we possibly can during the Q&A period at the end. To locate just locate the questions bar or icon on your control panel, type your question into the box, push send. I'll get that question, and again, I'll put it into the queue to be answered at the end. We have a lot of content to get through today, so we may not get to all the questions. More than likely, we won't be able to get to all your questions, but we will take a look at them, and we'll get back in touch with you with answers, and you're also welcome to reach out to Ballard and Ty with your questions. If you experience any technical difficulties during the webinar, you can use that same questions feature to send me a note and let me know what's going on, and I'll do my best to resolve the problem for you. One thing you can do right now to try to make the webinar run smoothly is to close all of the other applications on your computer. So Word, PowerPoint, Acrobat, whatever you may have open, as well as any other internet browser tabs. So all you have open is GoToWebinar. That just makes sure that all of your internet and computer bandwidth go to power the program, and it can really minimize your video and audio lags. If you do have video or audio lags that last more than a second or two, you can log out of GoToWebinar and come right back in, and that often just resets the connection for you. We are recording the webinar today, so if you're not able to stay for the whole thing or you want to watch it again, that's great. We'll be sending you a link to the recording by email tomorrow, so keep an eye on your inbox for that. The recording will also be posted to the Ballard and Ty website. In that email you get tomorrow, you'll also find a link to the slide deck as well as to your certificate of attendance. So lots of information to be on the lookout for tomorrow. All right, I think we are ready to get started. I am pleased to invite Brenda Rosas to join me on screen. Brenda is an educational consultant with Ballard and Ty and is going to be your guide today. Welcome, Brenda.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Brenda Rosas, and I'm an educational consultant here at Ballard and Ty. Just a little bit about me. I have a bachelor's in Chinese and a master's in English TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages. I have spent the last 15 years in secondary EL multi-level classrooms. I've never been given a single level class. I just love multi-level. EL is my passion. And I also have done EL curriculum and assessment development. I actually began using the blended learning approach in 2009, where I would use technology with the students in class, as well as send them home to do things on a platform digitally. So because I am mainly in secondary, I have worked in collaboration with Megan Ha. She is an early childhood educator. You will be seeing her virtually through video, kind of more of an in-action, hands-on approach. She actually has a BS in Human Development, a Master's of Arts in Teaching, a teaching credential, and she's actually done teaching blended learning since 2017. And currently, she delivers synchronous direct one-on-one instruction during this virtual time. Our agenda, we are going to first talk about some different philosophies, some bag of tricks, which are like strategies or activities you can do, or just helpful hints. We're then going to model a hybrid approach of a lesson. And we are going to do this through a use of a pre-recorded interaction between Ms. Ha and her student. We are going to be showing digital materials from Hands-On English, which is a Ballard and Ty product for materials for K through 2, K1, K2. And you're going to see pieces of that in this lesson as we watch it. Again, we're just featuring it so that you can see the strategies in action. We may or may not get to the question and answer session, just like Emily said before. Okay, so with philosophy, there's hybrid learning and there's blended learning. A lot of the times these are actually used interchangeably. Hybrid learning is really now the, I go to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I'm at home maybe Thursday, Friday virtually. Hybrid learning is becoming a lot more popular right now during these times, but blended learning is something that has been around for a while now. Students are using technology in the classroom. Schools have a one-to-one program with Chromebooks or iPads. So blended learning happens in the classroom with technology and the teacher, as well as they go home and do things digitally. Synchronous and asynchronous, some of the differences are synchronous is live instruction. So students are getting live instruction through usually the camera with the teacher. And then there's asynchronous, which is independent study. For our webinar, we are going to actually focus a lot on synchronous learning, that live direct instruction. There is that common misconception that I need a digital set of curriculum. I need it to all be digital so that my student can learn digitally with me. What we are going to show is actually that if you just make use of that video and teach directly, you're going to be able to deliver a lot of instruction. Independent study, there are a lot of different types of materials you can use for independent study. You can give different activities. We are going to look at a little bit of that, but mainly focus on direct live instruction. So, according to Ms. Ha, direct instruction is most powerful in the success of these young learners. So young learners, we're referring to pre-K, kinder, first, second, maybe third. As many teachers know, students learn best when they are learning in Paget's zone of proximal development. What this means is students learn best when there is enough challenge to help them grow with the support of another knowledgeable individual like yourselves. This requires direct instruction, and without such support, students, especially those learning a new target language, can become frustrated and discouraged. That is why direct instruction is so important for ELs during their early years acquiring a new language. So during direct instruction, you really do want to practice with the students. Oral practice is going to be a great time with students through the use of video. You can do a lot of discussion, maybe use bubble maps, anchor charts, really getting them involved in the discussion. You could ask a question. If no one answers, you could call certain people, maybe not the whole class at the same time, but really get them interacting with you through discussion. You're going to see a lot of this later on. Use of images and videos. So students at this young age need a lot to look at. They need to not just be looking at you the whole time, because then it's just words and they may not understand what you're even saying, especially if they're lower level English learners. But here you could see use of images, talk about color, talk about, you know, short versus taller, big versus little, and you're going to see a lot of things that will get them excited about the learning because of the use of images. Videos are really important too. I want you to also be clear that if the student doesn't understand the whole video, it's okay. A video has so much imagery that students can guess at what you are talking about or what is going on in the video, and that's enough for them. So the language is important, but imagery and the use of videos is really going to help you. Interacting with slides. So you can have a slide that literally is just a picture of something that you are trying to show. You can type it up, you can make slides. Here you could see some different slides from Hands-On English, and it's going to be about the book. You're going to see comprehension questions. You're going to see songs and chants. You're going to see maybe an opposites chart. You're going to see Ms. Ha later use some of these slides to interact with her student. Students can also interact with the slides. So maybe you make a slide that students can then, you know, put text, you could put text boxes on and then they can type into it. But really, we want to talk about direct instruction using slides. Academic skills are always important. So when you are teaching live direct instruction, especially with those young learners, please remember academic skills. You always want to do reading, writing, listening, and speaking. But really the order is, the most important is you want to start off with listening. Students at that lower level really need that listening practice. They then need to be able to practice a little bit of speaking. After that develops, then you can do reading and lastly, writing. All right, so moving on to bag of tricks. So use of images. We really do, like we said, believe in images. And so some little tricks is use images alongside the words. So for example, a lot of you teachers, by the way, I need to say this, my little one is in a dual language immersion program. So she's actually learning Spanish right now. And I could see the whole live direct instruction happening. And you have to teach phonics, you have to teach reading, right? So with phonics, you're going to see charts. You can just do sounds and letters, but why not add those images along with it to really help them see what you're talking about? And you'll see this in action later. Vocabulary, definitely. You could talk about a word and students will just be lost in the words that you're explaining. If you just show them an image, Could move on. Students will know exactly what you're talking about. Fiction and informational texts. Images are so powerful because they can then look at the image and kind of guess what the reading is about. They may not understand the words you're saying or trying to read to them, but they can piece things together and then guess, predict through images. Speak to write. We always at Ballard and Ty talk about speak to write. We love oral practice. Definitely use images to do oral practice, to have students speak about it, to then write about it. There have been some questions before today that we have taken into account as we were making this presentation. One of them was what to do with non-speakers. So non-speakers don't use words yet. They maybe are still in that silent period. So use of images, have them use images to respond to you. If you pose a question, they can't say words, have them draw it out, show you, and that's another way for them to communicate. So they practice listening comprehension, but their output is actually using images. This strategy is actually one of my favorites. I call it L1, L2, or L3. This doesn't have to mean level 1, level 2, and level 3, but if you are teaching a multi-level class, which I know a lot of you do, you have all the first graders and you have the very newcomers and the students that are actually already reading. So I always say if it's like a group 1, group 2, and group 3. So you have your lowest level working on images. So you're teaching vocabulary. Show them the image. This is an elephant, right? For your L2 group, your second group of students, you are teaching them to read the word elephant. So you could hold up the word elephant, type it out, show them, but they are learning to read the word. For the highest level, whatever that highest level is for you, they are actually reading the word elephant and then putting elephant in a sentence. This is very important that you challenge all the students because you're teaching multi-level, but you really need to meet the lowest level students where they're at, which is really at images. Use of actions. Total physical response, TPR, is so important at this age. It's not just that they get really excited about the learning, but they can feel those motions in their body when they connect those two words. So for example, songs or chants are very useful using TPR, with the little actions. Kids think this is so fun. During, virtual learning, I see my little one doing all the songs and chants. She gets up and dances, and then she knows some of the words, and she's learning Spanish. She may not know what the words mean, but she's actually copying the actions. So TPR, use it for phonics, use it for vocabulary, use it for opposites, big versus little. Oral practice. Again, you're going to keep hearing us say this. Oral language practice is so important at this stage. Every activity, every skill you introduce starts with oral language practice. So you want to engage students in impromptu speaking. Memorization is not going to help them in the long run. If they are not comfortable to speak and answer you, whether it's through words, phrases, sentences, or even images, right? You want them to have that impromptu opportunity. So during schema building, this is a great time when you're talking about pictures, when you're talking about a topic. Some different activities for practicing speaking are things like inside, outside, maybe when you're in an in-person classroom, lines of communication. So students are in a circle for inside, outside, and they're talking, the inside circle is talking to the outside circle. And lines of communication, you're in two lines and they're conversing with each other. Turn and talk, the teacher poses a question, you turn and talk to your neighbor, and then you share out or don't share out. But these activities are really, really helpful to get students speaking. Students struggle when they try to put sentences together. If you start with sentence frames or sentence starters, you lead them into what you want them to say, it's going to help them so much. Sentence frames are very powerful when teaching grammar, forms, and their functions, as well as literature. You can use sentence frames to say first, next, then, last. You're going to see this modeled later for you as well. We always encourage I do it, we do it, you do it. So the teacher models I do it, we do it together, you do it on your own. This is really great practice for students. There was a question about what to do when you have to push into the classroom. So I know some of you don't ever get your small groups of ELs. You have to push in, and during that time, you get your small group at a table or a station, right? So if you were to push in, you could actually use the native English speakers to help model, guide use a sentence starter, have them model it. It might be too easy, but they're teaching the lower level students. When higher level students teach and they have to explain something, it really does help those higher levels understand, but it also helps the lower levels understand. So pushing in would be really great if you're in a physical classroom for hybrid learning, but if you are not, use those breakout rooms and then the teacher just jumps in between them, right? You could even, as young as they are, put a leader there and say you're the leader, you're posing the questions and you are helping them interact. For reading, you always want to start a reading with schema building. A great way to use images is a picture walk. Have them talk about the pictures throughout the reading that they're going to then read about. You also want to really teach reading skills. Sometimes we get a little bit confused as teachers. We need to teach students to read. That's really decoding. So when they're reading a word, when they're actually trying to understand the whole picture of what they are reading, that is comprehension. So there's a huge difference in decoding versus comprehension. Students need to do both, reading fluency in decoding and comprehension for reading. So when you teach fiction, it actually lends itself better to sequencing and summarizing. For informational, fact-finding, bubble charts, drawing, comparing and contrasting, those skills are actually better in informational text. So when you teach fiction and informational, just remember you can focus on different skills, reading skills. Have students know the difference between fiction and nonfiction. If a student loves nonfiction, they will know what nonfiction is. My little one, I know I keep using her as an example, but she says, Mom, I don't like the pretend things, the fiction. I want to learn about something real. And she really enjoys more nonfiction, whereas a lot of her friends really, really love the fiction. Chunking. We always want to chunk, no matter what age group we're teaching, whether it's like young kids or all the way up to 12th grade ELs, right? You have to chunk beginning, middle, and end. So when you do a beginning, ask them some questions about just the beginning. Stop there, go to the middle, read the middle, stop there, ask some questions, and then go to the next part to do the comprehension, finding facts, sequencing. Again, use turn and talk to help them with the comprehension. Use sentence frames, sentence starters to lead them into an answer. Give them something to start with so they aren't just starting with a blank slate. I'm sure this happens to you before or happened to you before or to older students. You give them a blank piece of paper, they don't know what to do. You start them off with a sentence frame, they at least know how to get started. So when teaching a reading, you always want to start with speaking and listening. Again, going back to those oral language skills, then add in reading, and then later writing. For vocabulary, always teach vocabulary in context. If you teach words, students don't know what to do with those words. I remember going to school when I was young and all we ever had were spelling tests, a list of words that were maybe in the same thing, maybe, but you would just write and spell it out. But students, if you just have a spelling word and you memorize the spelling word, and you don't see it in context, you may not recognize it when you do see it in context. So teach vocabulary in context. Pre-teach vocabulary before a reading starts. Then during the reading, point out the vocabulary and check in on them and see if they remembered. And at the end, reinforce that vocabulary. You are going to see some of this modeled later today. Again, going back to sentence frames, I'm not going to keep saying this, but again, just to review, explicitly teach these frames. Explicitly teach grammar forms and their functions. Explicitly teach them even if they can't speak yet. So if a student can't speak, you give them a frame, they understand the frame and what's supposed to go there, put images in the blank, put the picture of the elephant in the blank, put a picture of something that's big in the blank so they know that an elephant is big. Help those students, those non-speakers, do it a little bit differently. Have them produce the language using the images. Maybe they draw their own elephant or big versus little. Let them do oral presentations with sentence frames. Here, you're not having them memorize. It's still a little bit impromptu, but you're giving them something to start with, some blanks that they can then fill in. And again, going back to literature frames and how they're powerful. So phonics is something that should be explicitly taught. We really want there to be rules. We want to really know that when a student learns the rules and then they see something that pertains to the rules they learn, that familiarity will kick in. So when you teach those phonics charts, add your own images, do the model, I do it, we do it, you do it, have them repeat, and have them chant the sound, say the word, and spell the letters. This actually comes from Miss Ha. She said, if you don't have them spell the letters and it's just a sound, they still won't recognize that sound when they see the letters because they're not spelling it out. We're actually going to now move to a video of Miss Ha teaching a phonics chart.
Sky in scat, SC. Sky in skate, SK. Spot in spade, SP. Crab in crab, CR. Twat in twin, TW. Spot in splat, SPL. Spot in spring, SPR. Scrat in scream, SCR. Squat in squeak, STU.
Oh, can you try the letters again? S,
P,
S.
SQU.
There you go. Good job.
Snot in snack, SN. Slut in sleep, SL. Strut in stream,
Good.
STR.
What's the other word you said has straw in it? What was the other word you came up with?
Strut in Australia.
You can hear the straw in Australia. Nice job with your phonics. Good job.
All right, so here you can see the student is doing that chant, right? So as she does it, it becomes more and more fluent and practiced. You could see the images with the phonics here, and that's just a model of how you could do that. All right. Okay, so going back to some more bags of tricks. So with interactive worksheets, you can project them onto the screen, share that screen, do it orally first. I know a lot of us think worksheets, okay, that's when the students should do the independent practice. But if you give a student a worksheet and they don't really know how to do it, they're going to struggle a lot. Maybe their parents can't help them. So do it orally first, give them an idea of what those answers should be. Then for homework, put it into a slide, a PowerPoint slide, Seesaw, Pear Deck, that's an add-on to Google Slides. You can use that image, drop it into a slide, and add text boxes so students can then add the words in. Ms. Ha has this idea of make a digital notebook. Pretend it's like a notebook that you would actually buy with lines, make it a template picture, and then make it on every slide and freeze it so students could then type into the text boxes so they're like taking notes. Kind of a cute idea for little ones. This is my favorite and most practical idea that Ms. Ha does all the time. Write it on a piece of paper. Have the student grab a piece of paper, take out a pencil, and start writing. Just because it's virtual, just because it's digital and it's remote, that does not mean you can't use paper. They don't need to print out the worksheet. They just need to write down the part that they need to fill in. A whiteboard is just as good. You can buy those transparent pages, slide a white piece of paper in. They have a dry erase marker, and then they show you. So this, I know sometimes we think, okay, digital, but it's so easy for students to write on a piece of paper, to write on a whiteboard. And what worries us the most is that if students just do digital fill in, they learn to type, great, but how are they going to learn to handwrite, which is so important at this young age? Critical thinking is something we also need to teach. So with ELs, we have to teach language, but we also have the responsibility to teach critical thinking. Comprehension questions are where it's really at, right? But you don't have to do this through a reading. You could do it through a video, do schema building through a video, use all those images, talk about what's going to happen with the topic, have them comprehend, make those connections. In a reading, yes and no, maybe at the very low level, but then you really do need to branch out into those open-ended questions a little bit more quickly so that when they go with their native speaking peers, they can have that skill set of answering those critical thinking questions. Students need to justify their answer. It's not enough to say this is the answer. Why? Where? How do you know? And so even though they're young, and they're learning language, they can justify their answer and give a reason. Might not always be correct, but at least you get them practicing this. Writing, we always want to speak to write. Do it orally first, like we just said, and then have them write. Use sentence frames, sentence starters, a word bank. Draw pictures first before they speak to then write. This is an example of our English mat. It comes with Hands-On English. It's so great because it has the image, full color, very interactive and vibrant. You then have your word bank or your set of vocabulary words, your conversation corner to get that speaking going, that modeling that you can do together as a class to then write about it. So again, writing, speak to write, use images to then speak to write. There was a question about what to do with young learners. Can you talk specifically about young learners? With young learners, there's that longer wait time. Number one, they might be crying for a lot of the time. I know with virtual, it may have helped with this because they're at home with their parents, right? But a lot of students are so shy to go to school. Give them that longer wait time. Give them that chance to think, okay, is it safe to respond? Can I take a risk? That silent period, always going to happen in any language, whatever you're learning. Give them that silent period time. Don't force them or pressure them to speak. You ask the question, nothing comes up. Oh, don't worry, draw it, or I'll come back to you. Teach them letters, sounds, and matching pictures. They might not know, again, any words yet. That's okay. The sounds will get into their brain. It will come back. It will then piece together for them. Work on listening first, not oral skills. This goes back to the silent period. No pressure to speak. Let them do a lot of listening. Halfway through the year, things will start coming out of their mouths and it will start to make sense. It's magic that happens with these little ones. Singing, dancing, songs, and chants. Kids love this. They are not shy to sing and dance yet. You know, they can follow along. They'll repeat words and phrases, even if they don't understand what they're saying. My daughter's singing the song about an elefante and all these other words. And I said, well, what are you singing about? She's like, an elephant. I don't know. So even if they don't understand, they are getting that sound system in their mouths, in their brain. Have them repeat sounds, words, and phrases. The more they repeat, the better it's going to be later on. So some tricks with hybrid learning. Use video all the time. The students want to see you, then switch to share screen, then switch back to video. Oral practice, breakout rooms, whole class direct instruction. Engage them by taking brain breaks. So for little ones, if you just talk at them and they don't understand, you're going to lose them. You need to have that time where you give them a brain break. Go Noodle was one of the ones that Ms. Ha recommended. Silly songs, dances, sing along, break it up. Even say, this is a brain break. Okay, now we're going back to math. Okay, now we're going back to words or vocabulary. Spend less time on worksheets. They really don't need to fill it out physically. They can do it orally first. Spend that time at home for homework doing it, on their own, but do it orally first. And save writing for later, maybe when they go back to in-person or when they're ready, because really the oral practice needs to happen first, then the reading, then the writing. We are going to jump now into a longer video. I'm going to be pausing and narrating. You're going to see Ms. Ha with that same student. I want to explain a little bit about this student. The student is not an English learner. She's higher level. And I wanted to do this because sometimes as EL teachers, we want to know where they're going and what they can do and still interact with the EL material. So Hands-On English is an EL program, and you normally teach it with those very beginner newcomers. But higher level students can still use that same set of materials. So you can teach it to a little bit of a higher level. But again, if you're so lucky that you have that group of really low learners, take them straight through, great. But if you have mixed levels, this is going to give you a lot more ideas on how to mix it up for the higher levels as well. The lesson that we're going to go over is about animals. The objectives are first going to be phonics, vocabulary, chants. You're going to see describing animals, characters with adjectives, opposites, big versus little, prepositions, comparing and contrasting the size and appearance of animals, answering questions for fiction as well as informational text, prediction, and sequencing. Right, so let's get started.
Big and little.
Great job. Which one is big?
That one's the big dog.
This one?
Nope, the next to it.
Yes, that's right. This is the big one. This is the
Small one, little one.
good. That means the same thing. Small. Little. Good job. Okay, let's practice with our hands. Show me big. Show me big. Good. Show me little with your hands. What is little? Yeah, you can do this or this. Good. Show me big. Show me big. Yeah. Show me little. Show me little. Good job. Or this is good too. Yeah, nice job. Okay, now we're going to work on a chance about big and little. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, so you saw the TPR, big versus little, and she still gets excited about those hand motions. Then those are opposites, so big versus little. We're using a slide to present the information pre-teaching because we're going to now be moving into a chant. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to remind you, we're doing long O sound. Remember, the vowels have how many sounds?
5.
No. Oh, there are 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U. You're right. But vowels have
Oh,
A, E, U. What about?
So I wanted to keep this part in the video. Even though the student isn't an English language learner, she's now in a dual language immersion program. So the Spanish is now influencing her use of vowels in English. So you could kind of see when students are learning either language, there is that mix that happens, especially when they're young.
The 2 types of sounds, remember? Short and
short and long.
Short and long. Okay, I just want to remind you, we're doing long O sound. Remember, the vowels have how many sounds?
5.
No. Oh, there are 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U. You're right. But vowels have
Oh,
A, E, I, U. What about the 2 types of sounds? Remember?
The
O.
The boat road.
Try again. The boat. This is silent E pattern.
The boat A.
Sorry, the C says we haven't learned that rule yet. The C says yes. Silent E.
A. Race.
Good job. The boat.
Boat race. The
Good.
boat
Let's look at
race.
our animals at the bottom. Look at this one. Can you see my arrow?
Yes.
Okay. What is it pointing to? What animal? Do you know the name for this animal?
Yes, it's a giraffe and it is tall.
It's tall. Can you show me big or tall with your hand again? Show me what a giraffe would be. This or that's right. It's this one. What about this one right here? What animal is that?
Hippopotamus.
A hippopotamus. Nice job. Let's compare the hippo to the giraffe. It
is short.
It's short. Nice job. The giraffe is tall and the hippo is short next to it. Nice job.
And this is short.
Nice. What animal is, oh, can you see that little blue one right there? Can you see that little blue one?
Yes.
What animal do you think that is?
A cat?
I think so too. That looks like a cat to me. How would you describe that cat?
That would be little.
Very little. I agree. What about the animal next to the cat?
The animal next to the cat is a penguin. And really next to the cat, that would be little. But next to the and it's little.
Yes, compared to the elephant, it's little. Great job, Saida. What is the elephant then?
It is not tall, big.
Yep, that's right. Nice job.
All right. So here you could see Ms. Ha is asking questions to only one student, but if you had a larger class, you can direct the questions to different people, right? But comparing the different animals, describing it, using the opposites, getting that schema building going to then go into the boat race, just using an image.
Okay, remember we're gonna do long O sounds, okay? Can we try? Remember O is roll.
Row, row, row. Go, go, go. Faster and faster. Ho, ho, ho.
Great job.
Big and little. Oh, short
Good.
and tall.
Mhm.
Wa,
Remember
Wa.
H is silent.
Yep.
What?
wa, at, when.
So again, you really want to use those songs and chants to interact with students to help them maybe learn to read at the higher levels, but for the lower levels, just those sounds, they might not understand what they're reading, but they are doing a lot of.
Okay, try to sound this one out.
Huh, or in morning, or,
Good
huh,
job.
or
And then silent E.
horse,
Horse.
horse.
Good
or-
job.
or-
Good job. Horse. Nice job. Okay, can
It's
you?
galloping, and I love the shiny and the
It is galloping, and its fur is so shiny. Its coat is so shiny. That's right. Nice job. The horse is galloping. Do you want to come up with a sentence for me? Another sentence?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
But really, my sentence was the horse is galloping.
Okay, you want to use that as your sentence? I like it. Great job.
Because the horse is really galloping.
It really is. Nice job. Okay, we're going to read our book about it now. But before we start, I have a few words to show you.
So you can see that we started off the vocabulary with images. This is the hands-on English portal where students can actually see the vocabulary because the teacher's pulling in the images as well as vocabulary. But also this portal right here, she's now going to be opening the book to then start teaching the vocabulary that's going to be in the reading.
So we're going to talk about, can you guess? Look at the picture. What are we going to talk about today?
Talking about the animals.
Where do you think these animals live? In the jungle?
No,
Where?
it's in the farm.
Right. This says farm animals. Great. So what animals do you see on a farm?
Well, I never seen a farm before.
What animal?
But when I see on one farm that I see, but I've never been actually in it, is cows. Yucky poo.
There is a cow. Would you say a cow is a big, remember big animal or little animal?
A big animal.
What would be a little animal on a
Like a
farm?
chicken and a rooster.
Yes, nice job. What do you think
And
about?
a little mouse and a farm dog.
Yes, what about this animal over here? These animals, they're the same type of animal. What kind of animal is
A
this?
sheep.
Do you think that's big or little?
I would say medium.
Medium? Yeah, it's smaller than a cow, but let's compare it to a chicken.
Oh, it's big.
Compared to a chicken, it's big. That's
But
right. Compared to a
a
cow,
it's small.
that's right.
Right. So through just talking about the first picture, it's about what the story is going to be about, but already doing a lot of that comparing and contrasting using that descriptive language.
We're gonna read about our farm animals, and I want you to listen for these words. Are you listening?
Yes.
Okay, the first word is busy. What do you think the word busy means?
Busy. Busy is like you don't have time to do something.
Busy is when you have so many things to do, you don't have time to sit around. You have to keep doing things because you have so much to get done.
Like work or school or homework.
Exactly right. Good job. What about late in the day? What does that mean? Morning or
in the day? It's nighttime or the evening. So again, it's morning, evening, or nighttime.
night? So gather means to collect. That's right. Remember, you collect it. Pictures really quickly and then we'll read it. So we're gonna try to guess what's going on in the book by looking at the pictures. So what's going on in this picture? Well, we read it. What's going on? What's coming up?
It's the sun and it's coming very up in the morning.
That's right. What are these chickens doing? What do you think these chickens are doing?
Laying eggs.
Yeah, they could be laying eggs. Which one do you think is the rooster? Remember our vocabulary word rooster? Which one do you think is the rooster? This
the
one?
one that's standing up.
The one that's standing up. That's right. And which one do you think are the hen?
The hen is the ones that are sitting down.
Yeah, because maybe they're laying eggs, right?
Or just sitting down and taking a rest. But yes, really much it's laying eggs.
With their basket.
Oh, the basket. Oh, he's collecting eggs from them.
What's the other word we use for collect? What's the other word?
Collect eggs.
Remember? Gather. Gather. He's gathering eggs.
So I hope you noticed the reinforcement of the vocabulary, using the pictures, all the open-ended questions, really just trying to have a picture walk, but a discussion, again, with the vocabulary too.
Now I'm going to do echo reading. That means I'm going to read it first and you repeat it, okay? Can you listen? Okay. The rooster walks around the yard. Can you try?
The rooster walks around the yard.
Good. He says cock-a-doodle-doo.
He says cock-a-doodle.
So we wanted to put a little bit of echo reading in here so you could see how you would do it with lower level students. You're going to see a little bit more of that in the fiction piece as well. But again, echo reading is very useful and it kind of hits that rhythm when you read it together.
Gather means, what does gather mean?
Like they collect. Also cows have a job. It's giving people milk. That's
right. Let's finish this page and we'll move on to the cows. Then
the chickens go outside. They
say
cluck,
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 cluck, cluck.
Good job, babe. About what happened at the beginning. So in the beginning, the sun rises and who wakes everyone up?
The rooster.
And then what is the rooster's job?
It is to wake up everybody. But what does it do in the morning?
Well, it sleeps until the sun rises and then what does it say? What does the rooster do? To wake everyone up. And then the farmer, what's his job with the chickens? What does he gather?
Eggs.
And then the chickens lay eggs and they go outside. What about the cows? What are their jobs?
To pour out milk. Oh, really? What those two animals' job is to give their farmers food. So that's why you want to farm. So we don't have to buy groceries.
Nice job.
I don't even know if there's a store near the farm.
Maybe, I'm not sure about that, but you're definitely right. Farmers use the food their animals give them to eat, so they don't have to go to the grocery store as much. You're definitely
I really want to have a farm. That's my ultimate dream.
right. What do the horses do? What are the horses' job? What do they help with?
Carrying the wood. Maybe I see a house that's almost built. So I really think that their job is to help the builder make a house.
That could be.
I mean a barn.
Good job. And then what happens at the end of the book? Finally, the sun
sets and they go to sleep forever. Sorry, not forever. Just until the next morning. I'm like, they go to sleep forever like Sleeping Beauty.
So you could see here, Miss Ha is going over the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story and kind of talking about it in pieces and interacting with the images still to help her remember what happened in the story.
Listen to my two words. These are opposites too. Soft and hard. Okay. The snake is a snake hard or soft? But the mouse is soft. Or we can do this one. Can you tell me heavy and light? Heavy and light. Which one do you think is heavy? The rattan. You think a little mouse is heavy?
The snake is heavy. The rattan is light.
Yes, but the mouse is light. Great.
Spanish.
Great, I heard you. Nice.
Spanish.
Rattan. Good job, babe. Okay. Which animal is with the house? Which one? The blank. What goes in the blank? The
rattan.
The mouse is
Light.
Is in.
Are we doing in and out?
Sure. The mouse is
in
the house. And the
snake
is
in
the what? Grass. Good.
All right, so you could see this worksheet is being done orally. Had she been given it, she might not know what to do by herself. She was already struggling a little bit, but reinforcing the comparing and contrasting as well as the prepositions. Right.
Are you ready to read about Miss Hippo and her friends?
Yes.
Okay.
I love animals.
I bet you do. Which one do you think is Miss Hippo?
Miss Hippo is the one that's big and gray and has a lily on herself.
Great job. I like the words that you used. Big, gray, and lily on top. Nice job. Good. Okay, now I'm going to read and you repeat. She is going to find out.
She is going to find out
what her friends are doing today.
What her friends are doing today.
So what is she going to find out?
What her friends are doing today.
That's right. Okay. First, Miss Hippo sees her friend, Miss Giraffe.
First, Miss Hippo sees her friend Giraffe.
Miss Giraffe.
Miss Giraffe.
Good. Miss Giraffe is tall and thin.
Miss Giraffe is tall and thin.
All right. So we don't have time to see all of the video, but you did see a lot. You saw the phonics there. You saw the vocabulary. You saw the song and chant with the boat race, describing the animal characters, adjectives, the opposites. You heard a little bit of the prepositions, comparing and contrasting. Definitely lots of answering questions for fiction and informational text. There was prediction through the image of what do you think the story is going to be about with Miss Hipple, as well as sequencing. So that is just a model of how it could be done. Again, you know, the girls higher level, but the same idea with those lower levels. That's kind of where you want to get them. So just a little bit of a review. We always want to maximize direct instruction time. You could see that that was live instruction. There was just a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion going on. The use of images, the use of actions, as well as interacting with slides, maybe talking about the worksheet orally, but definitely a focus on academic skills. Definitely the sequencing, comparing and contrasting, the reading, the writing. Actually, at the end, they start to write on the whiteboard and they compare their answers, and you're always going to have that listening component. So a lot of what you saw comes from Hands-On English. There is a teacher's e-port for Hands-On English. It is specifically geared towards K1. You're going to have these teacher guides that are really great that take you through step by step the different activities. It's very routine based. You're going to have vocabulary cards to teach vocabulary, the images and the words. You're going to have sentence frames to teach grammar, form, and function. You're going to have these worksheets that can be PDFs, that can be projected onto the screen or emailed to the student or posted on whatever learning management system you have, or Google Classroom. You can also have the big books, whether they're big and you're flipping through them. You saw Miss Hipple and her friends, as well as farm animals from that on slides. So through the teacher's e-port, you get access to a lot of digital materials. However, the students don't log in. It's just the teacher projecting everything, teaching everything directly to the students. So Hands-On English is a great, well-rounded program for these K1-2 English learners, specifically geared toward beginners. Those English maps that I showed you earlier, you're going to have a lot of image. All of these match up to one of the themes. So the bird theme for animals for chapter or lesson 5 that we just went through. You're going to see vocabulary as well as those conversation corner questions to then speak, to then write. Carousel of Ideas is actually for K-5, so it includes the young learners, but also the older students. In Carousel, it's a really robust program. You're going to have a lot of no guesswork, teacher guides that take you through everything. It's reading, writing, listening, and speaking. There's tons of imagery through theme pictures, as well as picture and word cards to teach vocabulary, using images for a springboard for language. You're going to see frames for fluency. That is specifically a set of materials for oral proficiency practice. It could be used with Carousel as a companion, or it can be taken out as supplemental to just focus on oral proficiency practice. Actually, right now at the beginning of the school year, that is where Frames for Fluency is at its best. You can get that oral language practice going, teaching them those grammar forms and functions. We talked a lot about sentence frames today, sentence starters. That is part of Carousel. You're also going to have in Carousel a lot of these worksheets as PDFs so that you can, make it interactive in nature, take a picture of it, put some text boxes if you wanted to, but really getting them to those content-based areas of science, history, ELA. You're also going to have your literature and dictionaries. This is Go English. It really just is for the teacher's reference to kind of understand what grammar forms and functions are taught at what level. So this is a really great reference for teachers. Like I said, Frames for Fluency is really great for oral language practice. If you buy it supplementally, you can have the vocab as well as the theme pictures, the sentence frames, and 2 very, very easy to use teacher guides. Now, Frames for Fluency is really not just great for the younger kids. It can go all the way to K-12. So being a secondary teacher, Frames for Fluency is so great for a newcomer program from 6 through 12. Get them, hit them hard with vocabulary, thematic language, as well as grammar, form, and function. Get them speaking to then move into more rigorous content later on. Something like Champion. Champion of Ideas is our 6 to 12 secondary program. It is completely digital in nature, where students can go in, teachers can go in, teachers can assign digitally a textbook reader, writer pages like worksheets, the test, which most of it automatically grades. But definitely there is a lot of direct instruction interaction. If you missed our webinar that came before this one on just the hybrid approach to learners, that one actually focused on Champion, but really strategies for 6th through 12th grade. So again, Champion, a really robust program for rigor, helping those students get to where they need to go for secondary before they go to mainstream. We also do a lot with language proficiency assessments. So we have our English assessments as well as the Spanish assessments. We do pre-K or preschool all the way to 12th grade. It can be used for Head Start programs, for pre-K, for oral language. We also do reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So all of that for the K to 12 groups. But it's really great for progress monitoring or that initial placement, really helping students with just being assessed so that teachers can know what to teach. Great individual student diagnostic reports that can tell teachers exactly what needs to be covered, and then maybe you find curriculum that will then, or our curriculum, that will then align with those needs to help students get to where they need to go. We at Ballard and Ty, we're all about consultation. We work with you to help you understand what would work best for your program. Not every program's the same. So definitely we do demos, meet with us, ask us questions, get help, especially during this virtual learning time. I know it's a new space. Look at our programs, see how it can work for you. So just because you came to this demo or this webinar, excuse me, you can book a demo with me, with our other reps. You can also do a 15-day trial of hands-on English where you could go into the digital e-port, even try to teach it to your kids today. Champion of Ideas, there's a demo for that. You can see the digital components, the content, how it's very interactive. If you are interested in a free day, 15-day free trial for hands-on English and Champion, you can contact me. Here is my email address. Please just send me an email and say, I love the webinar, if you did, but you can say, please, can I have that 15-day trial? I'd like to try it, and I will then help you get started on that trial. In October, we are going to try something new. It's a lunch and learn. It's a little bit shorter, maybe a 30-minute type of thing, where hopefully it meets one of your lunch times, whether you're Eastern or Pacific or somewhere in between. But we're really going to talk about oral practice, this idea of what's needed right at the beginning of the school year. Use sentence frames, maximize that live instruction. For tips and strategies on how to do that, please join us for our October lunch and learns. All right, Emily, I'm going to hand it back over to you. We have just a little bit of time left.
Yeah, we do. We're short on time, but let's go ahead and take just maybe one or two questions before we wrap up. So TPR is really important and loved by many students, but not all students. So do you have some ideas for those students who don't want to participate in that kind of physical kind of learning?
Yeah, I would address it. I would say if you don't want to, just stand there and listen, because again, it's not about the action. It's about hearing the sounds, hearing the words, hearing it in contrast. You could have them instead draw a picture, sit there and do images, like take notes. So they can interact in a different way, put those images up, kind of like a flashcard idea. So yeah, some kids don't like to move. I taught dance for toddlers. Not everybody moved. So, give them another outlet to do something.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yep, we've got to meet every student's different learning preference. So that's great. How can we provide EL instruction for students who do not join our live Zoom meetings? For example, students who are just receiving the work packets.
Yes, if they are able to log in to something, maybe not live Zoom, you can always record yourself in a video talking to yourself or talking to the class. Have it kind of like on an on-demand kind of thing. I know sometimes with working parents, it's very hard to get students on the live instruction. Seesaw, the Pear Deck, the PowerPoint interactives, put that image up, put those text boxes in, have them interact with it. You could even send home paper packets, workbooks, things like that. But definitely, if you can get yourself on video, smaller chunks, chunk those video links just as songs or chants or silly songs, that will help students.
Yeah, those are great suggestions. And I wish we had more time to spend together and go through these questions. But again, Brenda is one of the most accessible people I've ever met. So if you have questions that you want to reach out to Brenda about directly, maybe Brenda, go back a slide where your email address was, and we'll include her contact information in the follow-up email that we'll send tomorrow as well. But reach out to Brenda. She's happy to help. She's happy to give suggestions. And of course, I'm more than happy to give this 15-day free trial of either hands-on English, which is for our little ones, K1, or the Champions of Ideas, which is grades 6 through 12. So keep an eye out for that email tomorrow. It's going to have a link to the recording, a link to the slide deck, and also your certificate of attendance. So lots to look forward to getting tomorrow. And again, there'll also be links in there to register for those October lunch and learns that Brenda mentioned. So we hope you'll be able to join us for those as well. Brenda, thank you for all of this information. And do thank Ms. Ha for giving us that walkthrough and those sample lessons. That was super helpful to see and fun too. A great way to spend the afternoon. So thanks everybody for joining us. And we again look forward to hopefully seeing you at an October Lunch and Learn.
All right. Bye everyone. Thank you.